Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla coming back to ya with another episode of Walks with Schla. And believe it or not, I actually listened to the last episode and I liked it a lot. You know, as I talked in it, it didn't seem too special, but I think it actually was a pretty cool and interesting episode. And unlike the first episode of today, I actually have a follow up for the after for now where we're at now. Yeah, that's probably just about like the worst way I could have said that. The worst way possible. What I mean is, this time I'm going to expand upon the previous episode a little bit. But what I did want to say is it still almost seemed like I was overbearing the mic a little bit. So I guess that is a sad thing about microphones, is a lot of them are not designed for super up close, and it's probably more costly to do that. So maybe the whole like talking super loud, or like I'm still holding it too close to my face or something, seems kind of weird to me, but whatever. Anyways, moving forward with, I just wanted to make a comment because and it's documented that I was really having mixed feelings about the microphone, and I kind of take that back. I think it's definitely improved, although I'm not really sure. I guess I'd have to do a side-by-side comparison, because sometimes background noise seemed to come through pretty loud, but it's a little bit difficult to say. You know, I think it's tough to say, because I'm not doing a side by side, but I'm pretty happy. I know at least the sound of the voice, it definitely comes through with so much more body. Like there's so much more fullness to the voice. The iPhone 16 Pro mics sound really good and really clear, but it's lacking the body of the voice, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's worth it. And I guess I'm just going to own the furball. I'm going to own the furball for now. Now, what I wanted to talk about, and I can't believe I didn't realize this back when I first brought up this concept, but there's actually so many things we could do to fix society with everybody's brain chipped and this kind of like optimal shifting of people around. As it stands right now, we don't actually know if everybody who's a dentist or everybody who is a doctor or a CEO or a teacher, we don't really know if those people are technically the best at those given fields. It's actually likely that they're not. It's more likely that things are suboptimal. Now, it's possible that for the most part, people who are good at those fields are good, but it's really not a guarantee, especially as time has gone on, given the exuberant, enormous increase in the cost to get degrees and certifications for these fields. It's more and more likely the case that you would have to be coming from money to even have the shot of going down one of these fields. And it actually narrows the selection. And also there's a lot of waste, if you think about it, in terms of the selection and how all that operates. Because you have to waste a ton of money to and risk with the degree. And obviously if somebody gets a degree in dentistry, then, you know, what if they're not good enough for the actual job? I mean, that would be a huge waste. Or there's probably people who try to become a doctor but then don't, and it's not the right fit, and then it's not like you get a refund. You see what I'm saying? That's another, like, I feel like I'm not explaining it well. but it's basically, yeah, there's a lot of inefficiencies with taking classes and people knowing what they want or what they would be good at. And if you implemented this system, it just completely eliminates all those problems, and it would be so good for society and for the world. So essentially what you would have happen is your brain would be scanned, and all your thoughts and all your skills, and really not just your brain, but your entire body would be mapped out and quantified. So of course everybody has varying degrees of dexterity and all sorts of skills and things that would matter for dentistry, for example. There's probably nuances to hand size, thinness of fingers would probably be better if you were a dentist. You know, if you had like pretty thin fingers, that would probably be an optimal situation, I'd assume. And all these metrics would go through the thing, and it would get filtered into the wider population. And you know, you wouldn't choose to have anything. You would just be told, you know, this is what you would be best at. This is what you're going to do. And now here's the greatest part. This actually eliminates the need for capital, because now everybody can just get paid the same. Because there's no reason to have motivation is like out the window. You don't need that. It's like you're forced, you know what I'm saying? Like you wake up, you're incarnate into this reality, and you're analyzed and quantified, and you're told you will be best at this job. This is what you will do. And so you don't need to have motivation via a paycheck or a larger or smaller paycheck. Totally unnecessary. And then that way we can just completely eliminate so many of the lesser problems with humanity, greed, etc. Because there's not going to be any need or justification for unequal pay. You could literally just pay everybody the same, and everybody's forced to do their ideal job anyway, so there's not really any qualms about anything being unfair. And not only that, but society would be better because it would be far more efficient than it currently is. Things would be ridiculously more efficient than they are right now. Because right now, you probably have surgeons and doctors and teachers who are not very good at their job, but still have their job and still have their paychecks, even though they're inadequate. I actually think this is probably even more prevalent in certain industries like construction or video game development. All these industries probably have a lot of people who are just there due to luck or due to nepotism. And it would also wipe out nepotism. I'm really optimistic about this. Like, this kind of a world, and it really could be like an amazing place to be, but people really need to wise up. If we're going to get there, we need to have a huge trajectory change. People need to start pouring their money into technology and forgetting about all these frivolous pleasures that everybody wastes money on. We need to become a science and tech first society. And all these things about vacations and food, bottom of the list. Because I'm telling you, I'm not trying to live in this world much longer. And we need to make sure things are full speed ahead. Because I would say, I'd probably see it in my lifetime, but I would be very old. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd probably be just able to witness it. And that's kind of that, you know, I'm not really too thrilled about that. Like, I'd like to be alive during it for obvious reasons. So It's a little bit tragic, I must say, but at least I'm mapping it out. And yeah, and then, this is great. And like I said, there's no need for motivation because you're just told what to do. We could even argue with the, if everybody was like half cyborg, you could just be forced. You know what I'm saying? Like, not even have autonomy over your body, and your consciousness could really be doing a multitude of other things while your body is pushed and exercised properly, and then you could maybe disconnect neural receptors to not feel the pain from the exercise. There's all kinds of crazy. That's really far out. It might it might not be obvious, but that's kind of a joke. But yeah, and I think in that kind of a world, we would finally be getting somewhere to where. Now I don't know. I don't know. I think I would feel happier just because I would know that things are as good as they could be. Because that's the main problem, is that as it stands now, humanity is just so far behind. It's not even funny. Like, it's actually insane just how little tech is being utilized. And even more importantly, not only how little tech is utilized, and more importantly, how poorly it is utilized when it's utilized. Like, most humans really don't use it properly. You know what I'm saying? Most humans are like totally irresponsible, messing around with it, treat tech as a toy. No, I'm saying, and can you imagine if we fixed a lot of these problems, just how much better things would be? And we're going to have this as a possibility. This is all completely possible. We're maybe like a few decades out, but it's not impossible that you could have so much better of a society and solve so many problems, so many injustices and inequities, and usher in this new era of happiness. And then there's going to be like silly people who try to write their novel about how, some people try to break free and all this stuff. And yeah, I don't know. That I'm not too happy about that, because we wouldn't want anybody getting any ideas like that. But knowing humans, they just have to meddle with things and ruin things, That's the problem with humans. They like to meddle with things and ruin things. That's the problem with humans. So we'd probably have to make it so it would be an instantaneous death if you tried to get rid of the brain chip or something like that. But again, I'm not really sure why people would want to, because at that point, you would already be educated in a way where it would only really be an evil person who would want to do that. Because why would you want to do that? You get what I'm like? There's just no reason why would you want to do that? Why would you want to destroy or weaken that society? It's a perfect place. It's a good place where, again, these problems, they're solved. And so, why would you want to get rid of them? I don't know. I can't really imagine why you would want to do that. I guess that's just my honest take on it. Because you would see it, and you would see, like, well, if you violated it, you would just be doing something worse. And then that doesn't feel good. But you would have... again, things would be clearer than they are now, because the problem with things now is that a lot of people may think that a certain thing is better when it's not. And then also people may just not even care about whether it's better or not. And then in addition to that, what would be the other, I'm trying to think, what would be the other factor? So some people don't care, but some people some people do care, and they get it wrong due to like human error of judgment. So you have that as well. And then, but yeah, I don't know how or why you would want to resist it. Like at that point, you would just have to be like an evil person, and then that would get detected, because you wouldn't be able to have thoughts. Like it would flag in the system immediately if you were having thoughts of a negative rebellion. Like it would just immediately, like there's no way you'd be able to just have private thoughts, you know? Or, you know, they'd be able to tell that you disconnected your mind. Then you'd probably have a pretty severe punishment for that. I guess the real loophole would be sending like scrambled signals, you know, like basically what's coming up in the system is made up thoughts that aren't actually your own, and that's how people would kind of work undercover. But I still think it would be very difficult to do that, especially coordinated at such a large scale. And like I said, I don't really see why humans would want to do that, because again, at this point, society has come so far, and it's not like you're not pretty much getting anything you want, you know? It would be a deeper form of whatever entertainment we have as is. You could probably literally create perfection for anybody that anybody wants. It would be like TikTok, but on steroids. Like, instead of, you know, obviously an algorithm is like similar to what you would want to see, and the type of content you'd want to see, because it bases it off of what you engage with and whatnot. But it's not literally, like, it's not literally content that is, I'm sure it's still off. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it would reach like literal perfection. We could reach and achieve a perfect world, and this is all completely conceivable. It's not even that far-fetched or anything like that. And I think it has the lowest chance of there being any type of meaningful resistance. Like, I can't understand. I mean, knowing humans, they would, because humans always, like, somebody's evil, you know? Somebody's evil and just wants that blind freedom, that blind taste of freedom, even though it's terrible, because it is. Freedom never really pans out for anything positive other than this animalistic chemical sensation of joy that is devoid of actual joy, you know? That's all it is. It's like a thrill or a rush. And when you think about if somebody was raised from a baby with contained and perfected thoughts, I just can't understand why anybody would want to go against that, unless they are reverting to more animalistic thoughts, like that they deserve more or something. I don't know. But like I said, all that should probably, it would just get sorted out. Like everybody, like there just wouldn't be room for any incorrect things. There just wouldn't be room for it, because everybody would have what they deserve, and everybody would see with incredible detail and extreme quantified why am I trailing off? You would know every person would basically just be scored. So there wouldn't be like arguments. There would be no reason to have a debate. because you would just see. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how everybody fights and they argue? Like, there would not be any debates, because you would just know. You would already know whether you're right or wrong. You would just get corrected. And then you'd just be like embarrassed or just acting like really stupid, because it would be really up in your face, like, you're wrong. So eventually, you know, it would lead to better judgment. Although I suppose some humans wouldn't really be able to figure it out. So I guess that's where it gets a little bit problematic, because yeah, there's definitely humans who they just wouldn't get it, and they'd probably just get upset, you know, because they'd keep wanting to do what they want, and then they'd be told that they aren't, and then they might not understand. You know what I'm saying? It's quite the pickle, isn't it? Quite the pickle. Because I do think there would end up being a lot of like upset people at the end of the day. But you know, I'm not sure, because you could have it automated to communicate in a way that everybody can understand. Because like I think I talked about before, humanity, it would use AI as like a bridge between all conversations and concepts. So any explanation can just be translated into vocabulary and format that would be best comprehensible to whoever the listener is on an individual basis. So it could be possible to make that work. But yeah, it's just funny. I would be so happy with that kind of a society, because people would try to like, oh, I'm cooler. No, I'm cooler. But there's just no reason to argue about it, because it would just have a score for who's objectively cooler. So even if a person thinks a certain way, and of course all thoughts would be public, I mean, that goes without saying. I think I already talked about that before, how everybody's thoughts would just be public, right? Because that solves a ton of problems right off the bat, and really would make an amazing world. You know, it would make an amazing world. We're getting there, but I'm like 100 years off. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of wish I was. Well, I'm happy when I was born, but I don't know. It's been rough, and I'm hoping that things improve and get better. That's what I'm hoping for. But it's true, a lot of people would hear these ideas and laugh. But I really would not be surprised if at some point this stuff comes into fruition, because it's really just a matter of time before people connect the dots and kind of realize there is a clear path to ending humanity's problems, and we'll probably get there at some point. We're really not that far off. Like I said, I think a lot of this stuff within 100 years, I even think within 50 years, honestly, we could get there. And it just remains to be seen if the effort will go into it or not, I suppose. But anyways, it's been schla, but now it's time to buy schla. So, see ya schla.